Before we bring on our should-be senator, Scott Osborne, Mesquite, Texas. Been a gospel preacher for 30 years, moved to Texas from California in December 2013. He's here, and I'm glad he's here. He should have got here a long time ago. He's an activist, owner, and host contended for Truth Radio. Friends, Scott Osborne.
And I am proud to be a Texan. Very proud. Let me tell you, it took me a while to get here, but we worked really hard this last year to get here, and we worked really hard to get here this last year because we don't want to live in California anymore. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that the most beautiful flag you've seen in a long time? That flag still stands for freedom. About a year ago, I started hearing about Common Core. Phyllis Schlafly was interviewing Orlean Kohler, and I was horrified. I've been saying for a decade, Republicans, conservatives, you better pay attention to the schools. And in one clean swoop, with Common Core, they've decided to institutionalize what they've been doing in our schools for decades. But I'm going to thank Common Core, and I'm going to thank Barack Obama, because it's waking a lot of people up. I've been talking politics and I've been talking religion since I was a teenager. And my little sister, who I love dearly, the mother of my 3 precious nieces that are my life, has put up with her brother's politicking for years and years and years. And she listens and she agrees and she's conservative. But I'm going to tell you, when Barack Obama was elected, she started to wake up. And when she found out about Common Core, she became an activist. You know, many times standing behind the pulpit, looking down the pews, looking towards the back door, knowing outside that there's a lot of cars driving back and forth on Sunday morning and a lot of people that have no idea that they should be in that building. And the same concept goes here. I want you to look at that road over there. And I want you to think about the people driving up and down that road that have no clue as to what we're talking about here today. They have no clue as to what Benghazi is. They have no clue as to what Common Core is going to do. They have no clue the damage that Obamacare is doing. They haven't gotten their letter yet that says, sorry, we've canceled your health insurance. You know, folks, I moved to Texas. My sister moved to Texas. We brought those 3 precious, precious little girls here so that they could have a future. Because I am quickly watching that future fall apart. And if we don't fight, we're not going to do it. You know, I'm loving Texas history. And right now, keep in mind, right now, this time, 178 years ago, the people that were wandering around in Texas, what were they saying? Remember the Alamo and remember Goliad. Because in a couple of weeks, we're going to celebrate the Battle of San Jacinto. I got to go with Michael yesterday out to a couple of your beautiful cemeteries down here and pay honor to a couple of men that stood up for freedom, risking their lives. You realize when those guys went into that battle, they were going into that battle having lost the last few. They had lost the Alamo. They had lost the Goliad. They were going into the Battle of Jacinto. Yeah, we're winners. We're going to win another one. Yet they still picked up arms. They still picked up and fought for freedom. And it was a humbling experience yesterday as Michael and I stood there with his son Quinn, thinking about the motivation for those men who were willing to die for the future of what we now call Texas. You know, I fight for three things. Michael calls us pushers. We're pushers. We push information. We push candidates. We push organizations. We try and get the word out. And I fight for three things that I see are falling apart. First and foremost, I fight for the church. Because I'm going to tell you folks, we've turned our churches in this country into entertainment centers. And our young people don't know how to worship because they just go to listen to the band. So I fight for our churches. Where's the gospel being preached from our pulpits, folks? You want to know why we're having a problem with gay marriage right now? Because we got a whole generation of young Christian young people who haven't been told in 30 years that it's wrong for a man and a woman to live together. And how are you going to tell them that it's wrong for a man and a man? I fight for our judicial system. I got a good friend up in Hurley, Wisconsin, through a horrendous set of circumstances, went to prison for 16 years for a crime he did not commit. And let me tell you, I'm a full supporter of our law enforcement. My dad was a deputy sheriff. I've got good friends who are in law enforcement. But we're watching right and left our constitutional rights being destroyed at the local judicial level and at the national judicial level. Eric Holder, what an embarrassment. And I fight for politics. Because I'm tired, folks. I am tired of Republicans, not Democrats, Republicans going into office and following the money, not standing on principle. You know, I interview a lot of candidates on Blog Talk Radio. I love it. I got to interview our Governor Perry at one point. I love it. But you know, as I pick out local candidates, different candidates for different different levels of government, from commissioners, state senators, congressmen, and as I interview them, I'll tell you the ones that I pick to come on my show. Now, number one, they got to be a solid conservative, but that's not enough for me, folks. They got to be solid in their character. I've got to know that when they get to office, whether it be Austin or Washington, D.C., or City Hall, that when they leave, they're going to be the same people they are that when they campaigned to go into that office in the first place. We got a bunch of crappy Republicans right now who are following the money because they don't have good character. They may stand on abortion. They may stand on the Second Amendment until the money starts showing up. That's why we're having problems with Common Core, because we got a bunch on our own team that doesn't get that a Common Core is the Obamacare of education. So how do we win? You know, this is a rally, and this is great. I wish I could, I can pull that out of there. I hate this thing. I've always said I stood in the pulpit for 30 years. I've never stood in the pulpit. Oh, I feel much better. Because this is where I beg, folks. This is where I beg. This is great. This is wonderful. We're all getting together. I'm meeting new people. Having great times with good friends. Eating some good hot dogs. I love hot dogs. But I'm going to tell you, folks, this doesn't get with it. You know, we go to church on Sunday morning. The reason why we go to church and why God has us worship together on Sunday morning and partake of the Lord's Supper and to sing and to pray and to study. You know why he does that? So that we are healthy enough on Sunday so that when we go out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we've got our batteries rejuvenated so we can go out and preach the gospel, so we can go out and teach people, so we can go out and show a good example. This is not just a rally. We're not going to change anything here. We're sharing information. That's great. I got a great new DVD to show my girls for homeschool. I've met some great people. I met some people that I've had organization with, that Andy, we communicated on Facebook, never met him. I got to shake his hand. But I'm going to tell you folks, if we don't get out and wake up the people, this is for nil. This is for nil. You know, there are a bunch of people. If we walked out into these neighborhoods out here and started knocking on doors, I would say about 80 to 85% of them would agree with us if we sat down and explained to them basic conservative principles. Basic economic principles, basic sovereignty principles, basic social principles. But I'm going to tell you, I bet you if we knocked on those same 100 doors, we wouldn't find 20% that know what's going on in Benghazi, don't know what's going on in Common Core. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea the people are blind. And it's our job to wake them up. We got to quit preaching to the choir, folks, and we got to start talking to our neighbors. We've been told the biggest lie in the whole wide world, and you've all heard this phrase. I think even young Quinn right here has heard this phrase, the two things you don't talk about, politics and religion. Yeah, right. But the left's been telling us that for a long time, haven't they? And I think we believe it. Quit believing it. You get out and you talk politics and religion. You share information. You go pick up some of these flyers out here and these flyers out here. You look at that flag and you remember that flag this week. And you talk to everybody you can and you explain to them, this country's coming to a halt, folks. Because I got a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 12-year-old, and I worry what their life is going to be like in 30 years. I worry about Quinn's life in 30 years. Thank you.